Hey kids, welcome to Lesson 6, User Input and Strings, Part 7. Back to Mad Libs, designing your app. Now that you've had some practice getting user text and making new strings with it, you're ready to turn your how-to-made Mad Libs into an app. To get started, we'll set up the layout. There's going to be two main screens. Screen 1 here is going to collect user input. On this screen, you'll use text labels and text input design elements to set up different words you want the user to provide. A next button takes you to screen 2 to view the full Mad Libs. Screen number 2, view Mad Libs. On this screen, you'll use the text area design element to create a space where the user's completed Mad Libs will be displayed. A play button will take you to screen 1 again. We have an example down here. Screen 1 and screen 2. We have a do this. Today we have to create the two screens for our app, including design elements in each one. We have a requirement, request at least 3 separate words from the user on screen 1. Create the event handlers for next and play again buttons to respond 2 clicks. And use set screen in the event handlers to get screen navigation working. Looks like I need to create the layout and get my next and play again buttons to work for this one. I am going to go ahead and just use their example here, the learning to drive, so we don't get too far off the path. So I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different words. So a couple more than our minimum. Seems pretty fun. I'm going to try my best to get it to look exactly like this. Let's go ahead and get started then. First thing I want to do is set up my 2 screens. My first one, I'm going to call it my Mad Lib screen. And the background color, I want to try to get it this purplish blue. I kind of like that. A little bright, we'll go a little darker. We need a little more blue in it, I think. Let's go a little more blue. That's pretty close right there. So I'm pretty happy with that. Similar colors. Let's go ahead and copy our hex key right here so we don't have to remember it. No images on the back. Let's go ahead and add a second screen. I'm just going to drag that into our screen there. And this one is going to be our libs screen. So lib screen. Background color, I'm just going to Control V, put that right in there so I know I have the same color for both. 2 screens, easy to identify. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and start adding our elements. First thing I need to do is the Mad Lib up there, and that is the label. So I'm going to drag a label into here. You really can't see it right now because it is the color black. So we need to go over here and change it to white. White, though, as we know, is all the colors kind of mixed together. That is going to be F, 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 F. We can Control C this for later use because we're going to use this an awful lot. Let's pick up a font size here. This Mad Libs is pretty huge. Really, I should put my text in here when I'm sizing it so I know what it looks like. We're going to call this lib label. And let's go up to 40. Move it over this way. We can go ahead and center it as well. Let's work with some nice round numbers. 250. If you remember from our old lessons, we are going to take half of the screen width and half of ours there and subtract them from each other. So this is 320. Half of that is 160. 200 and half is 100. So we are going to go 160 minus 100 and that will give us a position of 60. So we're going to put 60 in our X position. It looks really close to the top, so I'm going to move it up. I'm just using my arrow keys right now to get it very close. That looks pretty close to me. I think it's good enough to move on. I'm going to add yet another label down here. This one is going to be learning to drive. Let's get some white color right there. This is going to be small lab. Remember, this one is little lab, and this is our small, or let's actually keep it the same, lib small label. Make sure our S is capitalized for our camel case. And the text says, learning to drive. And we're going to put an exclamation point. Let's make this just a little bigger. Let's go up to 18. That looks a little too big. 16 looks a lot better. Same thing. Let's work with some round numbers here. So we have 160 minus 75. That is an X position of 85. And our Y position, we're just going to use our arrows. Oops, I'm still changing that. We don't want to do that. 85. Move my up arrows here, and let's just get this really close. So it does not look centered. What could be wrong? I bet you it is my justification. Let's go center on this one. Let's do a center on this one. That does not look very positioned to me. Oh, my X position is 80. That should have been 60. There we go. That looks much better. So just double checking my numbers, I was probably putting in the height instead of the X position. So just something to catch on there. It's always good to take a good once over when we do stuff. Now that's done. We have to continue adding our labels here. You'll see we have a plural noun, two nouns, a song, and a verb. These are all labels. This is going to be P noun label, and the text here is going to be a plural noun. We want our color to be white again. Make sure we're doing center justification. Let's make this just a little bigger. Not much, just a little bigger. I'm going to move this over here. Let's go a little closer because that's what that top one looks like, and I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and put our text inputs in as well. I'm going to get this close. I can change this width here. This is going to be P noun input. The width of this is way too big. Let's do 175. That looks much, much better. Enter a plural noun. So this is just placeholder to text. This is just telling the user what to do here. We're probably a little ahead of the game, but that's okay. Let's just do it now. And I'm going to have to rinse and repeat for the rest of the steps here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use the duplication tool here because that is going to help me out a lot, just saving some time. This one is going to be noun one label. This is just going to say noun. Move this into position. Duplicate. Move this down. This is now going to be noun label 2. So it should be noun, oh, that's noun 1 label. So this is going to be noun 2 label. So we have that there, plural noun label. We have to do a song now. Let's duplicate that. Move this down here. This is going to say song. We want our song label. And one more for our verb. This is going to be verb label, and we want this to say verb. These now are all the same height and width and same pixel. All we really have to do now is move these down so this all fits in a little better. I'm going to try to line them up here using the left justification. So I know this verb has to go over just a little. And if we look that looks pretty good there. It's pretty close. At this point, I need to add some more of my text inputs. So I'm going to drag some over here. But as you notice, it's a different size. Let's go ahead and just duplicate these. This is going to be noun 1 input. That looks pretty close there, and that might get confusing. So let's change this around. Let's change this to noun input 1 there. And this is just going to be enter a noun. Let's duplicate this again, move this down to our second noun here. This is going to be, this one was named noun input 1, so this will be noun input 2. And we have enter a noun, so that's pretty good. Duplicate it yet again. And this one is going to be song input. And this time we're going to enter a song. And one more duplicate for our verb. This will be verb input and enter a verb. We look okay here. I think my spacing could do a little better. This could probably be moved up some, along with our box here. So we're just really going for aesthetics. And I am sure you've all used an app which doesn't look as good as it should. So it's always important to make sure things look good, because sometimes that's the best impression we're giving our user. That looks pretty good to me. Everything looks pretty justified on the left and right. We have names in there. So what do we got to do next? Well, we still got to do our next box. That is a button, so let's put that down here. This is going to be called next button. Say next. I want this to be a little bigger because I want users to see it. So I'm going to go with 20. Let's always work with nice round numbers here. So let's actually go with 40. That's a little too big. Move this over a little. And I don't like the green. I want a nice fire engine red. So I'm going to come over here, go up to, let's do a F, because F, if you remember, is full on, and turn off the other one. So we have a nice bright fire engine red there. That looks pretty close to what we got there. I'm pretty happy with it. But we're not done. We still have another screen to work with. So let's go to our Mad Lib screen. This one, we have learning to drive. I could actually duplicate the text right here. So if I click on it, hit copy to screen, Mad Lib, and we want to move this over, and it's this same font and everything, so our user should be familiar with it. So it looks pretty good. We're just going to move this up to the corner. Next thing we have to do is add this text area. I'm going to drag this up here, and I'm going to drag it down here. So my box with the 300, my X position should be 10. That'll nearly take up the whole screen. I want it a little skinnier though. We still need to add our play again button there. I think I'm going to do this just like we did the learning to drive. I am going to copy it. I'm going to go to my first screen, click on that element, copy to screen. I want that to go to the Mad Lib. There's the next, but we want this to be the play again button. And the text will say play again. Let's make this a little longer, 120, and move it over a little. And that looks pretty close to our example. We can see in screen 2, we have learning to drive, we have our box, we have play it again. On our lib screen, we have our Mad Lib, learning to drive. We have our plural noun, noun, song, verb. Looks like we actually went a little above and beyond and put our placeholder text in. Everything looks pretty good. Going back to our do this, we created 2 screens. We have at least 3 words. We created event, we still have to do this. We have to create our event handlers and use set screen to do that. So we have a little coding to do. It's a good reminder why we always look at the directions. I'm going to put my event handler in here, and on the event, well, first off, let's add some comments. This is going to be my next screen, and on the ID of next button, we are going to set the screen to screen 2, which is Mad Lib. So on this one, let's indent this a little. On the event, the next button is clicked, we are going to set the screen to the Mad Lib screen. We are going to have to do the play again screen. And on the event, that the play again button is clicked, and then we want that to be a function. Don't forget our little parentheses and our curly Q friend. Come down here, we got to end our curly Q. Oops, it already did it for us. Parenthesis, semicolon. And on this one, we want to set the screen to the lib screen. And don't forget your semicolon. So when I hit run now, I should be able to switch back and forth between the two. Let's go ahead and see if I'm right. Run, play again, next, play again, next, play again, next. Now I think I've done all the requirements. I've created 2 screens, I have at least 3 words. We created event handlers for the next and play again screens, and we use set screen to change between those screens. It looks like we did everything code.org wanted. Let's go ahead and move on to our next part because this is really fun. Good job, kids.